Welcome to Child Abuse Awareness with Darlene J. Clark.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Child Abuse Awareness with Darlene J. Clark. Be a part of the solution instead of part of the problem. I usually like to start with a Bible verse, and this one really means a lot to me at the moment. Isaiah 1:17. Learn to do right, seek justice, defend the oppressed, take up the cause of the fatherless, plead the case of the widow. Without further ado, my guest here tonight is Drenk, aka Sparky Lee. I'll let you go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hi, everybody. My name's Lawrence Drenk. I'm the CEO and founder of Legacy Programs, Education, and Reentry. I started my program back when I was released after 20 years in prison, and I just wanted something different. And my program is all about purpose over profit, homegrown. I self-funded my program for up to about 5 years until I was recently shut down by the state in Sacramento, and so California shut me down because I was doing I like taking the numbers that the state puts out and challenge them with my own money, and so I did the homeless thing where they said it was $80,000 per person per year, and I did it with $3,000 for a lifetime, and it was a dear friend of mine that he was a part of Robert Bowman was a pilot program for that. And he's been doing fabulous ever since. But I don't know if it's been a minute. When I first started, I was all over the place on Facebook and podcasts and Blog Talk Radio. And during my 4.5 years that I was running the program, with the generosity of the people that assisted me and gave me their resources and I gave them resources, it was a good program. We have over 4,400 clients that successfully re-entered society without any issues. During that time, I was being run ragged by my own choosing. It was just it was an odd time. And it's something I learned is that, when we get out of prison, we're told that we're supposed to make money. We're supposed to be providers. We're supposed to be good, all these things that have to do with the grind, the hustle, the inspiration, the not the overtime. And I got to say, I did it. But when it came down to when my program was taken from me and I was forced to step back while I was on parole during my last 6 months, I realized the isolation and the neglect and how I chose my program over my family, my friends, and my life. And I was stuck by myself. And so it's kind of tragic. I was working for the state, Caltrans. I got a brand new truck off the lot, and I made some really good strides. But I couldn't ask for help. Self-care wasn't a thing for me. It was just the grind, and eventually it caught up to me, and I ended up developing a drug habit. I went on a 1-year run. And I had to explain to my guys what happened. And so if the message today speaks to you in any way, it's that we all need each other. because self-care is not in our DNA. We got to keep going, because something in our back of our minds, from adverse childhood trauma, from PTSD, from some type of experience, tells us that we're not good enough, we're not lovable, and that we just got to keep moving forward to keep busy. And that's what I did. And I ended up wrecking my truck. I ended up going through, my wife filed for divorce. It was, I lost everything, and I had everything. I had everything I wanted. I had everything I achieved. I said I was going to achieve within a 5-year period. And it just goes to show that, without God, without you being present in the moment in your life, it's going to slip away. And you're going to be sitting there stuck. And so I hope that this is the first time I'm actually coming out with what happened. A lot of people just saw me fall off. They don't know where I went. Well, I grinded. I hustled. I did everything I thought I was supposed to do, and I was wrong. And during the process, I edged God out. I edged my family out. I edged myself out, and I became a totally different person. And it was all about work, and it just at the end of the day, I had nothing left. So all those things I achieved were useless. And so today, I just pray for everybody that you take the time for yourselves to live your life, to sit there and actually have that conversation with God of what's your purpose, what's your mission, and what are you here for? What are we all here for? And so, and if anyone knows my story, I grew up in a really bad childhood. I'm a product of child molestation. My mom was the one that sold me for her drug habit from 4 to 9 years old until I went into foster care. I went in through 25 foster homes, over 30 group homes, California Youth Authority, prison. I've been institutionalized my whole life. So, and that's my story. And I speak out against that now, because we're not supposed to just stand by and stand still. We're supposed to speak out. If you see something, say something. And I'm coming out with a book. My autobiography is going to be a three-part, and then also I'm working with Darlene and others to when I was little, I wish I would have knew. And those are going to be for the parents, for the children, and it's going to be a children's series of what to look out for when it comes to sexual assault, or when it comes to boundaries being crossed. And it's going to be a really good book, good series. And then the other series is going to be about addiction, and just about the misconception of what are we supposed to do with what we hear and how we move forward. And then in the end, we find out that it's false information. And so there's a middle that we have to explore. There's a middle that we have to teach, a middle we have to learn. And so today is actually one of my first interviews in a long time. But I just want to say it's okay to speak out if we're struggling. And I wish I would have, and I didn't. Instead, I sat in my office and did as much meth and cocaine as I could, and lost my mind. So I'm just now getting it back, and like I said, I had it all, and then I lost it all, and it's okay to start over.
So did you make right here in the chart right here? You said self-care. So how do you go about beginning from what you did, and I will take the first step towards the self-care like you are doing right now? And I want to say I'm very proud of you. Hi, Carlene. Are you there, Lawrence? I think he got knocked off briefly. We'll see. Hey, Lawrence, are you there?
Hey, what I do is Oh, there you
There
go.
we go. Yes.
Today for self-care, I spend more time with my family. That, in fact, that was my wife calling me, telling me that dinner was ready. Um, but I do random stuff. I don't stick to a routine anymore. I don't stay in my office and focus on trying to save the world, because I've come to realize that if I can't save myself, then I'm no good to anybody else. And so um, now I just do random things. I cook dinner. I clean the house. I just do things that I normally didn't do before. And it's about being of service to those closest and nearest to me. And that's kind of like my self-care now, is that making my self-worth um making my self-worth count as something, you know?
Yes. And making sure that you take the time away from yourself. Like all the work and the devastation, because when you're an advocate like we are, the different things that we do, sometimes you can get burnt out very easily.
Yeah, it's almost like we fight so hard for other people, and then by the time it comes for ourselves, we're just like, there's nothing left. There was nothing left for me to fight for myself. I gave everything I could, and it was and the reason why I do is so I could look myself in the mirror. I could go to sleep at night knowing that I did everything I could for my peoples. And I just didn't have anything left for myself, and that's where I messed up. I thought I was strong enough, and I was strong enough. But I wasn't prepared. And that's the thing, is that for a lot of us advocates that have broad shoulders and we ask for heavier loads, and it is what it is, sometimes we're not prepared for what comes next. And it's almost like a sticker shock, you know? You're just like, what the hell just happened? And I remember with my drug addiction, that was my escape. I needed to get out of I just needed to get out of my head and away from everything. And I remember digging that hole, thinking that one, nobody knew, and the other thing was that I could dig myself out. I didn't need anybody. I was like, I could get out of this. I've done it before. I've been through worse. And it seems like the more I tried getting out by myself, the more I kept getting stuck. And so it was a whole ordeal. Like I ruined almost pretty much every relationship in my life. I I ruined anything good in my life, and I replaced it with an escape that pretty much drove me insane at the time.
That's understandable. And so basically, also, even though you're saying, well, I could pull myself out of it because you had done that in the past, in a way, that is good to know that, hey, I've been through this, I could get over this stuff. But at times, we really do need other people's help, okay, to help us be grounded, to help us about, like, stick out a hand and say, yeah, I need your help. Can you help lift me out of this, right?
Yeah, that was my biggest prayer to God. Was, how I was so pissed off that I was there for everybody that came across my path, and at the end of the day, I had nobody. And then the ones I thought that were going to be there, everyone bailed, including my wife. Like she wasn't even built like that. She was like, I'm out. And I was so alone and so angry and bitter uh, that that I hated. I barely stepped foot in my office just recently. I hated my office. I hated my program. I didn't want anything to do with it, and I just couldn't believe that I was stuck there by myself after being the rock for constantly for anybody and everybody, and I was so alone. But it was almost like a blessing. It taught me a lot.
So
So
what kind of advice would you normally, the first step that you would say, maybe just step back and take a deep breath and think about things to get grounded again? Would that be one of the first steps before moving to the second step, you would think, or what?
Well, I think the first step was realizing that I was screwed up. I go to AA meetings now and NA meetings, and the first thing I say is, "My name's Lawrence, and I'm all kinds of messed up." Um, and that's the title I hold, is that I got so much stuff going on. But the first step is realizing that there's something wrong with you, and that you are the source of the problem. The second step was just forgiving yourself, because I suffer from insomnia as it is. I stay up. Hey, I stay up at night. I can't sleep, so I'm up and down, and I'm constantly battling my demons, and I can't forgive myself, because there's like a part of me trying to figure out, why did all this bad stuff happen? Like, there has to be a reason. There has to be a purpose for me, where I'm not just useless, and it's like I'm constantly trying to prove myself, not just to the world that I'm not just a CDC number, but to myself that I'm a force to be reckoned with. And losing my program was one of the things that just, I lost my identity. I put everything in there. So another step is just trying to figure out your identity and being comfortable with it, and loving yourself, and being okay with what happens in life, because Paul spoke very, very many languages. He's very talented like that, and I kind of feel that we speak a language through our experiences. And so the people I can reach, you can't, and the people you can't, I can't. And it works in concert like that. And that's how God's love and God's work spreads, is that we work together in doing so. So, and another step is just reaching out and asking for help from a fellow advocate, especially, and forming that bond of, hey, I need help, and I, like, right now, and not being, and getting rid of the stigma that we're weak because we need help. I thought that because I helped out, I had answers for everybody else, that I had the answers for myself. Come to find out, I can't take my own advice, but I could give some damn good advice. And it was just one of them things that I had to learn the hard way. Story of my life, right? But everything's working back, and I'm starting all over again. It's even with my program, and this is one of the first steps of getting a legacy back out there, and getting our name and our reputation back to where it was. And like I said, legacy is very special to me, because we stayed self-funded. I funded my own program for almost 5 years, and didn't take $1 from the state or feds. And we did more with nothing than some programs do with millions.
Some people might not know what the legacy program is, and I'll let you explain that.
So legacy programs, education reentry, is legacy stands for learning education gives air to community and youth, and air is accountability, integrity, and responsibility. So, a mouthful, I know. So what we do is, we're a wraparound program. I don't take funding, because I believe that with every program that takes funding, that they sell out their mission statement. And I didn't want to sell out my mission statement. I didn't want anyone telling me how to spend my money, or who I could help or who I couldn't, because we have a fight for one, fight for all policy. But I don't turn anyone away, and I work my damnedest for them. And so it was, it was just, we help out veterans, we homeless, former foster youth, current foster youth, formerly incarcerated, currently incarcerated. We help the families. We're a wraparound program that, at some point, like, if I couldn't do something, I knew somebody that could. And I had connections all throughout the United States. And it was a wonderful feeling to talk to another director of a program and say, hey, can you hold the bed for me? Or can you do this for me? Or And we have a policy at Legacy where I've never asked for help without offering help. And that was my blueprint for many years. And it worked out really good. It worked out very good. 4,400 people we helped that did not go back to prison.
Thank you so much for that.
Well, the crazy thing is that the people that I helped, I was told not to. And I couldn't do that because I feel that, let's go with the stigma again with, I am a huge advocate and I speak out against sexual violence. But a lot of our formerly incarcerated, our SOs, our sex offenders, there's situations and it's not always what it seems. And to keep an open mind, because the thing is that if we all give up on rehabilitation, we get to pick and choose who is salvageable and who's not, then we're playing God. And we don't have that right. We don't have that privilege. And so the thing is that I always live with the philosophy that if somebody moved next door to me, would I be okay with how I speak out? Would I want if somebody moved next door to me, to my family, would I assist them to keep them out? Or would I just sit there and shun them and force them to want to reoffend, to go back, to give them no choice? And that's what we have to learn our compassion again and start focusing on what, instead of what crime was committed, why the crime was committed, and start looking at the root causes of that and figuring out the adverse childhood trauma, the byproduct, the product, and exploring the attachment theory.
And you yourself were one of them that was falsely accused, so that's where we're going at too, because there's a lot that's been falsely accused that's been in jail.
I was, and I still live with that, and it's one of those things that you could be the nicest guy in the world, and you could be the most upright citizen, and still get treated like crap. And that was one of the reasons for my mental breakdowns, was that, well, for the most part, I isolated myself and said that the world was against me, but I got treated like crap from the people I worked with and stuff like that, and it really messed with my mental. And so, and with that, I want to explain something. Every formerly incarcerated has an effort list, and that list is, if I'm going back to prison or if I'm going to screw up, these are the people that I will make sure feel the wrath. These are the people that I will make sure understand how I feel. And it's called an effort list. And every formerly incarcerated has one, because there's, in the back of our minds, it's always, I'm not going back to prison. I'm going to end up dying. And so we, going out with a bang, whatever you want to call it. And so, and that's something that I've been teaching some of these organizations and these psychologists that are dealing with formerly incarcerated, is that do not paint them into a corner. If you're going to shun them, it's not beneficial for anybody, because we should be treating everybody as an investment of the community. And that's what changes from offender to a productive member of society. That compassion and that kindness.
Yes. So what is your next steps going to be? What are your next steps?
I don't know. Honestly, I don't know. I think that the more I try to plan my life out, the more hectic it is. And so, of course, getting a new vehicle, my job, I got a new job as a property manager. So I'm it's in AA and NA, they say one day at a time. And I think that instead of trying to plan 5 years in advance like I did before and getting burned out and having these expectations, I think I'm just taking one day at a time. And there's some days that I don't want to do anything. And then there's some days that I want to sit there and go to the lake. And there's some days that I want to just, clean the house. So I just take it day by day now. That's my next step, is just clean, sober, a good husband, good father, trying to keep my relationships and earn back what I screwed up and living in that constant shame of, I screwed this up.
And I know that you said you are fixing to work on a book, your autobiography, which would be a 3-book series. Is that thick
Yeah.
of an autobiography?
Yeah. So when I was in prison, I started writing a book, and I was told by my pastor, write a page a day. And so for 20 years, I actually wrote down from the earliest I can remember my life to up to 2021 is when I stopped writing it. I think I wrote a chapter the other day about my addiction to coke and meth, and how that, I think that's one of my last chapters. But yeah, three book autobiography, and it's gonna go back all the way, dating from when I was a child. And my mom selling me for her drug habit, to the group homes, the foster homes, and falling in between the cracks of the system, as they called it. So I'm looking forward to getting back into advocacy and most importantly, to support other advocates out there and to start a movement of support, of love, of it's okay to not be okay. And I got 2 shoulders to cry on, so take your pick. And I got two arms, so it's like, and that's how we should do it. If we were fighting for the voiceless and the unseen and the meek, it's our responsibility too to fight for each other, and because if we don't fight for each other, nobody's going to fight for us.
What she say right here? Okay, I can't really read it at the moment. I'm having a little trouble. Can you see it? Being falsely accused is one thing, and that's not cool. But a real, true child human predator or child human essayer cannot be rehabilitated. It's a fact, and that's why we have an RSO list, in my opinion.
And yeah, and to some extent, that is true. That is true, but not all. It's case by case, and we really got to look at. We really got to look at, because what people fail to realize is, and not everyone fails to realize this. Some people know it, but it's a cycle, and it's something that we have to attack. And if we're going to sit here and focus on the person or the individual rather than trying to get to the root cause of it, we're just putting a Band-Aid on it. And there's going to be more offenders that offend, and there's going to be more people that do what they're not supposed to be doing. And we have to figure out why. And that's always been my favorite question. Why? And keep going back until we figure this out. And so, but that compassion is important, to realize that at some point, when does a victim lose their victim stance and are turned into predators? Because some of these predators were victims themselves, and they didn't have the support, they didn't have the information, they didn't have the knowledge, and they didn't have the means. Not taking that away from them, but I think that it's when you take away somebody's victimhood and don't let them speak, and you don't let them heal, I think that's what I think that's the turning point as for a predator, is where they're so pissed off, so angry, and so disconnected that empathetic gate is closed. It's like a kid getting bullied. If when a kid gets bullied, it's so traumatizing that they can't relate to that kid being bullied anymore. And that's why a lot of kids that are bullied turn into those bullies, and they're stuck in that cycle, and they don't really, because they cannot relate to that person because it was so traumatized. And so that's what I mean by we have to explore this more. And like I said, some people belong in jail. Absolutely. Some people belong in prison for the rest of their lives, and some people don't. And prison saved my life, and it kept me alive, really, but because I think I would have been dead at this point if I never went. And I think I went in at like 18, 19 years old. So, and I got out when I was 39, 40.
Yeah, I believe you said that because of when that happened, you were doing a lot of bad stuff, but you weren't doing that you got charged for.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I fought my first murder case at 13 years old. And so that was a lot of fun. It wasn't, sorry. But yeah, before this, I got falsely accused. I was a gang member since I was 9 years old. And the prisons didn't help with that. The only thing the prisons helped was it isolated me long enough to figure out where am I going to go with life. And I remember sitting in the groups going, this is a cookie cutter philosophy, and
Yeah, she put that's true, but they have a choice to be an offender or not be an offender. Everyone deserves therapy regardless.
yeah. And that's the thing, is that we have to get back to the compassion. And I know it's difficult. It's like somebody slapping you in your face and turning the other cheek, and that's rough. Trust me, I know. But if we're gonna get to the root cause of things, we have to, and we're gonna try to figure this out. We have to use different methods, because obviously the methods that they've been using is false. People associate. It's funny. What's ridiculous is that people relate sex offenders to white vans and old men. But the thing is, 9 out of 10 crimes are committed by somebody within our families. So when we're sitting there and we're judging people, like, these are people that my mother, my family allowed into our life. The people that were supposed to protect me, they could not. They chose not to. And so that's the thing, that it's always somebody closest to us. It's that grooming process, and that's what's sickening about this, is that, and that's why it needs to be explored, because parents need to be educated, children need to be educated, offenders need to be educated, and the public needs to understand of what's going on, because we're so driven by fear, by the media and the news, that a lot of that is pushed by a whole nother agenda. And so, once you realize that, you'll start seeing, well, the old magician, rabbit in the hat, pay attention to this hand, but don't pay attention to this one.
That's a good point. Not paying attention to what the left hand is doing.
Well, we do get to cherry pick what we want to learn from the Bible and what we want to learn from God. And I'm not super religious. I'm very spiritual. I am still a reverend, but I believe that that if we're going to cherry pick, there's a lot of things that it's like the person that seems most sane and most perfect is usually one of the most messed up people in the room. And the one that's messed up, that has that's obviously screwed up is usually the one trying the hardest to fix their stuff because they have nothing else to hide. It's all been exposed.
I
So
can I can remember one of the things when the best psychiatrist I ever had, and I really say that it was my one psychiatrist, okay, because it made a difference in my life because he believed my stories and everything. But anyway, I said, well, do you think I'm crazy? What is really the definition of crazy? He says, well, I don't think you're crazy. He said, but crazy is like if you were to react um, a certain way, like being really happy when you're being abused. You know, sometimes there's these fake smiles, a fake laughter, or whatever, you know, the fake mask, right? Just trying to change whoever's mood that's beating you. But the thing about it is, if you act totally different than what's really going through in your mind, you know, like the things that happen in your life. He said, well, you know, you had a pretty messed up life and all these different things that happen to you. And I said, well, what's wrong with me, doctor? He said, what's not wrong with you?
yeah, we'll get there faster if we figure out what's not wrong with you. Yeah. And that's the whole thing is that we have adults walking around with so much crap in their backpack. I mean, if you think about a child running away from home with a stick and a little sack, like with a toy or so, you know, as adults, we carry luggage, and that's our byproduct. Or that's our product from our byproduct, you know, and it's like we pack so much stuff and we get so lost in the shuffle of work and trying to provide and struggling that we forget that we're hurting sometimes. And it comes out in our language, our behavior, our actions. My biggest thing was I was so miserable at work. My wife told me at the time that every day I would come home, my hatred was toward my coworkers and my job. But then when I lost my job, it was towards her. So, and that's the thing is we're walking around hurt. And for anyone that sits there and says, "Nah, I'm good," you're so full of crap. And I mean that respectfully. It's like you got to be real with yourself. And then that's what I mean. It's like there's no difference between a drug addiction and somebody walking around with childhood trauma, because everyone's sitting there saying, "I'm not a drug addict. I'm not hurt. I'm okay. I'm sober. You know, like I can function. I can operate." But the thing is let's be real. And that's why the movement with advocates supporting advocates, no different than the dads supporting dads. We got to get on board with this because at the end of the day, we know what's best for each other. We know what to say because we all listen to each other. We all grab for the same cookie jar. And so the advice that I can give somebody else, somebody could give me when I'm in need. And so advocates that are out there, our job is so rough and it's not paid for. Most advocates do not get paid anything. But when the chips are down and we're hurting, we will hold that in just to keep that mask going. And that's what this mask is right here. That's why I have this mask up here now, because that's the mask that I had, that I'm fine, everything's fine. And then there's a dumpster fire right behind me. And so please, advocates, please support each other, because a regular person won't understand what we're going through. They can't help us. When my wife was telling me, "What can I do to help you?" all I said was, "Just hold me and tell me it's going to be okay." And she's all, "What if it's not?" I said, "Lie to me then." And that's how bad I was hurting, that I would take a lie to just tell me it's going to be okay, because I need that reassurance. And when I tell you that I was down in a rabbit hole and I was digging, I can tell you in 1 year how much sleep I got. It wasn't much. I could tell you in 1 year how many days I was actually sober. In 1 year, I could tell you how many days I went without arguing or throwing something, because it changed every dynamic about me. I was no longer soft spoken. I was pissed off. I was angry. I was I had outbursts, and so when I say support each other, like, we have to look at it as if an advocate is suffering out there, we never know when that advocate is going to fight for one of our loved ones, or fight for somebody that we know. And if we can't sit there and be there for each other, and then what is your purpose and what is your cause and what's your mission? That you can be there for a total stranger, but you can't be there for, we're family. We're all family. And so I encourage you all to support each other and start that dialogue as soon as possible. Call up an advocate, and say, hey, I love you. And it's going to be okay. And that's all, and it starts from there, and see where it goes.
Yeah, pass it forward. Love forward.
Yeah.
But
And
also,
I just
go
want to
ahead.
show, there's this shirt. I found it at Walmart. Beautifully broken. There is nothing wrong with being broken. It is okay. So we got to get rid of that stigma too, that being broken is a bad thing. Because let me tell you something. How many times have you been broken and you've actually been able to help somebody that nobody else could help? It's when it's at those moments at our lowest that we're sometimes at our best, because we know what it feels like. It's that good Samaritan that jumps in that hole and says, hey, don't trip. I know the way out of here.
Exactly. I get so tired of a lot of people that try to say, well, I don't want to deal with that. I don't want to think that negative. I don't need, but every time you close your mind on somebody that's need help, it could be a child walking down the thing. You're thinking, oh, that kid looks nasty. How do you not know that that child could have just escaped one of them houses away from predators, right?
Yeah.
I
You
mean,
never
how do
know when
you
you're going
not
to save a
know?
life.
And you're right there looking and downgrading and judging and saying, "Well, I don't want to get involved. This is really too much. That's too much of a trouble." But then you're going to hear it on the news. Well, the next time you hear this child was murdered, what are you going to do? Are you
Well,
going to say, "Well, I could have done something about it, and I just walked on by," and that's going to stick with your mind forever? Or are you going to actually try to say, "Are you okay? Is there anything you need, or are you lost, or anything?" You know what I'm saying?
yeah, no, I absolutely agree. And I think that sometimes that, for anyone that says we're not judgmental people, humans are judgmental. Absolutely. We judge in one way, shape, or form. Um, but I think that it's like, every day I take that chance. I call myself a walking HR violation. And in fact, everyone calls me that because I speak my mind. But most importantly, I am not afraid, uh, as a property manager. I talk God. And sometimes when I sit there and I bring up God bless you or stay blessed or something like that, I always take that chance of the repercussion of that rejection. But it's worth it, because the thing is that if I don't say it, I don't know if somebody else is going to tell them that they're blessed. And if I'm not going to talk about it, I don't know if somebody else will. And we have to kind of approach the sexual assault, the childhood trauma, and everything with that, because if you don't talk to somebody about it, who's going to talk to you about it? And so uh, it's just something that every day I take a chance, of rejection and ridicule of something I say that's positive, that's not popular. So
Like, for
yeah,
instance, I go into McDonald's, I mean Walmart or whatever, and I usually smile at whoever, even if I feel like I'm sad or hurt or what, right? I said, this person, might not get any other smiles today, right? They need to see that they matter too. Somebody's happy, and approving of you by just saying a friendly hello, right? I could
yeah,
not believe two different instances of going to Walmart. I just wanted to cry after I got home. It really just knocked me for a loop when they actually found me um, shortly, or come to me a little while later and said, "I'm so glad that you did that, because I was thinking nobody cared, and I was all ready to go home and kill myself. You would not believe, the people that come up and tell you something like that.
Yeah, no, I absolutely. So my car wreck, I crashed into the tree on purpose. I was going 70 miles per hour, and I was trying to kill myself on that. And then about a week later, I tried overdosing on a bunch of pills, and it was, for some reason, I woke up not even with a headache, and I walked away from the car crash or the truck, and I smoked that tree. Like, it was, I shouldn't have walked away from that.
Did you have any
Lucky-
broken bones?
no, I actually didn't. I was just disoriented, and with the airbags and everything going off. But um, I wish that somebody would have asked me that morning how I was doing. I wish that night that I took those pills, somebody would have called me and said, "Hey, Lawrence, how you doing?" And not accept an answer that I'm fine, that I'm good. How are you? And that somebody that could read through the bullshit and that could see the deflection. And I think that's what people miss, because when somebody says, "Hey, how are you doing?" You ever notice how they're really quick to move on? They don't want to know how you're doing. It's like it's that word, "How are you doing?" is so full of crap. It's nobody cares, nobody wants to know, because if I told you how I was doing and I took 5 minutes of your time, I would ruin your day pretty much, where like I'm getting the hell away from this dude, because like I don't even want to know. And that was like I said, I wish that morning when I took that drive and I decided to that my life was worth more because of the life insurance and the truck payment. I wish somebody would have just gave me a hug and said, "Hey, it's going to be okay," and that they would have seen it. But apparently I'm a good actor, so um
That's our mask. We're so used to putting that mask on, and you know everybody looks like, oh, you're fine, you're alive, you're dealing with it. They don't really know the pain that you really are going through. And I'm sorry that you had
no,
to go through this alone.
it's all right.
Please hit
Sometimes
me
bad
up.
things happen to good people.
Please hit me up if you need an ear.
Absolutely. And likewise, and any advocate out there, my name is Lawrence Drenk. I'm the founder and CEO of Legacy Programs Education and Reentry. If you add a .com to that, you can reach me and leave me a message, and I will respond to you. And um, like I said, let's start a movement where advocates support advocates. That's not no longer a competition or who's done more. Let's actually go with um, how can I help you out? How can I be there for you? You need a shoulder, you need two shoulders, I got you.
One thing, have you ever noticed that when you walk by somebody, when you're walking like into Walmart, right? And you tell somebody hi, and then all of a sudden they're asking, how are you doing? And I say, fine, thank you, how are you? And then I stop right where I'm at and turn around because I'm expecting this person to really tell me how they're doing. I want them to see that somebody is there to listen to them if they wanted somebody to hear, about how they really are doing, right?
Yeah. Well, even as a property manager, I give a 3-day notice, and I try to make that as comfortable as I can. I joke around. I let them know, hey, it's going to be all right. What can I do to help? And so recently, there was a family, and every time I deal with these families, I see, sometimes I see myself in that home as a child. And so I'm always quick to, hey, there's some free food over here, there's this over here, there's some resources. And one of my coworkers actually was not happy about that, telling me that I'm going to burn myself out and that I shouldn't care. And I say, okay. And I let them have their their opinion, and I continue to help people, because um you know you never know that child that you're helping, or that adult that you're helping, what child that saves. and you don't know what child that you're saving, of what future repercussions that it's going to have because of that interaction. And so, live, laugh, love, play, pray, all that stuff. But please support each other, and don't let the smile fool you, because there's always something underneath it.
Right. And Bucket List said love and prayers to you, sir. And I think before we close this, if you want to lead us into a closing prayer.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, everybody, for listening to me talk. It's been a pleasure.
And they said,
Dear Lord, we come to you. Huh?
I said, unless there's something else you want to say before the prayer, too.
No, just thank you. And thank you, Darlene, for everything you do and for being outspoken and being a hero. Really, you deserve that.
Thank you.
Dear Lord, I ask you to watch over the advocates. I ask you to watch over the people. I ask you to send your angels to watch over us, to pray with us, to eat with us, to play with us. I ask that you bless every advocate out there to keep going and to have the courage and the encouragement to help another one when they fall. And if we all help each other when we fall down, that we all will be standing, walking, and running together towards the same goal and the same purpose and mission. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Well, thank you so much, and God bless you. And let's opt to do next one we should do is a role play type of thing. And I hope that more y'all will come in here, and we'd like to hear y'all's gist on it when we go to do that, okay?
Okay. Thank you all.
Thank y'all, and God bless y'all. And if y'all got anybody that wants to come in there and tell their stories and share them with him and please feel free. We'll be glad to open up and let you have a voice.
Yep. Share it. Don't keep that stuff. It's like diarrhea. Let that out.
Yeah.
Bye, y'all.
Bye, y'all. Thank you. God bless y'all.
God bless you.